Good evening, I'm Adrienne Arsenault.
And I'm Andrew Chang. Tonight, after a hockey coach is charged with sexual assault, his accuser speaks with us.
Do it for the 17-year-old version of myself that I've been carrying around all these years.
Why, after 3 decades, he says now's the time.
Also tonight, Albertans prepare as restrictions roll out.
Trying to make the best of it, just enjoy it while we can.
The bleak outlook for summer job seekers.
The day before I was supposed to start, they shut down for COVID, so that was tough.
And as Scotland votes, it might be time to brush up on independence.
Still with me? Too many referendums?
Do not fear, Margaret Evans is here. This is The National.
There were allegations of abusive and inappropriate behavior. There were warnings, complaints. There were even police investigations.
And all of that spanned decades. But Bernie Lynch kept coaching junior hockey teams in Canada, the United States, and Europe. Then, earlier this week, Lynch was charged with assault and sexual assault in an incident dating back to the late 80s. Tonight, we will hear from the alleged victim about what he says happened more than 30 years ago when he was just a teen.
He says he decided to come forward after seeing a CBC News investigation 2 months ago. It revealed that Lynch had recently been suspended from coaching an Ontario junior team. Jonathan Gatehouse broke that story. He has tonight's as well. And because there is a publication ban in the case, we are concealing the accuser's identity.
33 years ago, when this man was 17, he says he was sexually assaulted by Coach Bernie Lynch.
I said no, and he said do what you're told.
A skilled player with his sights set on the NHL, in town for a summer hockey camp run by the Regina Pats. Lynch arranged for him to stay at his apartment. He says the coach got him drunk and then followed him into the shower.
The next thing I knew, he came in there and got in the shower, and that's where the assault took place.
The player told his parents, a few teammates, and later police, although he did not want to press charges.
I never even considered it back then. Just didn't want my name out there. I didn't want my face out there. I didn't know how it would all go.
But he did know one thing.
And I said he should not be around kids. I remember saying I cannot stress enough that he should not be coaching kids.
That warning went unheeded. As the player's dreams derailed, Lynch continued coaching in Canada, the United States, and Europe. A 44-year career that ended in March, when CBC News reported that Lynch had been suspended for sending inappropriate messages to a player.
When I say I couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe he was coaching. I didn't know. I saw the first article, and I showed my wife, and she said, "You need to do something."
He filed a complaint with the police, motivated, he says, by the players and parents from Lynch's 2 most recent teams in Fort Frances and Edson, who'd spoken to CBC News about their concerns regarding Lynch's conduct.
I was proud of those kids that spoke up. I felt that I needed to take the next step and do that for them and do it for the 17-year-old version of myself that I've been carrying around this all these years.
A heavy burden that might now finally be lifted.
I still love the game. I still love to play. He took that from me for a few years, but he's not taking it from me anymore.
Okay, so Jonathan, you've been following this story for months. What was your main takeaway from that interview?
Well, he says he feels very supported by the hockey community. In fact, Hockey Canada has hired a lawyer to represent his interests through the process. And back in the 80s and 90s, he told a number of teammates and coaches. It's also clear, though, that many people knew about this, what he had said had happened. The police approached this player about Lynch in 1994 and again in 1997, and it still took him coming forward with an official complaint 3 decades later for something to finally happen.
Right. And what's the latest on Lynch?
Well, he was released on bail yesterday in Regina. We reached out to him for comment, but he did not respond. In the past, he's told CBC News that he was shocked by these allegations and believes they're part of a smear campaign.
Senior investigative reporter Jonathan Gatehouse, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's turn to Canada's COVID-19 story now, and to Alberta, where tougher restrictions are starting. To judge by the pace of new infections, not a moment too soon. The province recorded 2,211 new cases today. More than 2,000 a day seems to be Alberta's new normal. The rise in average daily new cases has been relentless since March. And the impact of restrictions may not show up for a while, judging by what's happened in Ontario. It introduced a stay-at-home order in early April. It took 2 weeks for daily new cases to peak, and despite tightening restrictions further, that number has still declined only 20%. Now, Alberta's restrictions don't fully kick in until Monday. So as Carolyn Dunn explains, that means a few more days of relative freedom for people, businesses, and presumably the virus, too.
For many businesses, each shutdown has been harder than the last.
No, I just wish that they would do it, across the board and not just make small businesses suffer. That's all. I don't think it's done properly, and I don't think people are going to follow the rules anyway. But some of us have to pay the price for that, which is sad.
This hair salon is extending its hours, trying to squeeze in as many customers as it can before closing down for the third time. Alberta's patios are bustling too. A birthday lunch today for the Peno family.
Trying to make the best of it, just enjoy it while we can.
But they're disappointed they may not have a chance to do this again soon. A few tables over, the Foxes echo that.
I think it's a very difficult position to be in, and I just don't know if anyone's doing the right thing right now. But I do not believe the spread is coming from small business.
But the time for fine-tuning restrictions is over, says the province's top doctor.
Cases have risen to the point that we cannot simply target one sector or group. We don't yet know if we have hit the peak of new cases.
The latest restrictions come weeks after many medical experts began raising the alarms about COVID cases spiking and starting to strain the healthcare system.
My first reaction was relief. I have concerns with the priorities set out by these restrictions. So the example that comes to mind is that schools have been closed, but malls are still open.
The province is imposing its strictest capacity limits, but health authorities say it's a struggle to determine what's essential and what's not. The measures are designed to work in conjunction with vaccinations that are ramping up quickly. More than 100,000 Albertans under the age of 30 booked their first shot today. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
Well, the rapid rise in cases continued in Nova Scotia today. And from the Premier, frustration and a warning. Tougher restrictions could be coming.
I don't know what more I can say to Nova Scotians to make sure they take this issue seriously.
The 182 new cases mark another daily record. Perhaps more alarming, how fast it's happened. Just over 2 weeks ago, there were fewer than 80 active cases. But look how steeply those numbers have climbed to more than 1,300 active cases today.
After Health Canada revised its guidelines to allow children 12 and up to get the Pfizer vaccine, more provinces are announcing plans to get kids in line.
I think they want to see their friends, and the best way to do it is to get vaccinated. Please, show older people that you are better than we are.
Quebec officials want to get kids shots by the end of June, then second doses when they get back to school in September. Newfoundland is promising a similar timeline. In Yellowknife, kids 12 and up can get the shot today.
Well, making young people eligible for vaccines is important for reaching herd immunity. But just like getting out the vote, boosting vaccination rates is often about raising awareness and lowering barriers. In that regard, Alison Northcott shows us a key part of Quebec's ground game.
In a neighborhood with some of the lowest vaccination rates in Montreal, this is part of the drive to push them up.
We are about to knock on people's door to let them know about the vaccination.
Melissa Jean-Baptiste works with an organization serving the community's immigrant population. Paired with someone from the local health authority, she says language is one of the barriers some in the neighborhood face in getting information on vaccinations.
The information that they have is when is my turn, where I can go, is it free? People feel that they are not left apart. That we took time to give pamphlet in Chinese, in English, in French, also in Spanish. We also give you some masks to keep being protected.
She says other issues can include isolation, internet access, and in some cases, uncertainty.
You want to wait until more people, as we discussed earlier, for people to get vaccinated.
Yassine Ossini didn't know his age group will be able to sign up for a vaccine starting next week. If it's accessible, he says, why not?
Pour le vaccin, est-ce que vous avez vu le nouveau calendrier qui est sorti?
A few doors down, Michaela Kaseka says she's not in a rush to get vaccinated, even though her brother recently had the virus.
I do know that it's serious, and I do know that if I'm working with other people, just to respect them, I would get the vaccine. I know eventually I'm going to get the vaccine. I'm not against it. It's just that sometimes I feel like, I can survive without the vaccine, you know?
Jean-Baptiste says she's not here to convince people to get the shot, just inform them.
They ask about getting tested.
In another neighborhood across the city, a similar campaign emphasizing testing, too.
We try and get as close to the population as we possibly can, and we're trying to do, it's really footwork.
To ensure everyone who wants a vaccine can get the information they need. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
For the second summer in a row, young Canadians face meager prospects for summer jobs. Jacqueline Hansen shows us how COVID-19 makes the competition fierce and disappointment all too common.
Emily Doucette hoped to make enough money this summer to start her master's degree in education debt-free.
I have to take loans at this point. Even if I get a job, it's not going to fund my whole year.
Lockdown after lockdown means a lucrative serving job isn't an option, and the Canada Emergency Student Benefit isn't being renewed. So she's trying to piece together gigs as an online tutor.
The hours are a lot less, obviously not even close to what I was doing before, but I don't think I will get there no matter how hard I try.
It's competitive because she's far from alone. Compared to pre-pandemic, there are still 120,000 young women out of work and nearly 40,000 young men.
How we're going to space out.
Across the country, 70,000 youth usually work at summer camps, but which camps can go ahead is still uncertain.
Those staff right now are waiting patiently as we continue to work with public health.
2 rough summers in a row could even put future jobs at risk if the camps don't survive.
The need for continued government support is prevalent and is going to be business saving for many of us who have been pouring our life and soul into these places.
16-year-old Finn Blakey tried to get a head start on his summer. He got a job as a dishwasher last month.
The day before I was supposed to start, they shut down for COVID.
A setback for this year and maybe others.
This would be a time where I'd be experimenting with different jobs and things.
This economist says reopenings will bring rehiring.
If the vaccine rollout can proceed in a timely fashion and is effective at bringing COVID cases down, that there's reason for optimism.
But it's not yet clear how much of this summer could possibly be saved for the businesses and the workers who rely on it most. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, to India now, where more than 400,000 COVID-19 cases were reported today, along with nearly 4,000 deaths, both new records. It's the latest in a devastating second wave that's showing no signs of slowing down. Of the nearly 6 million cases reported globally last week, India accounted for more than 2.5 million, or 46%. Brazil and the U.S. are next, but they each account for less than 10%. Salima Shivji looks at Canada's part in a global push for aid for a medical system on the brink of collapse.
Scenes like this in rural India hit hard. Makeshift hospitals set up just about anywhere. There's a desperate search for supplies and agony when it's too late. My wife didn't get the medicine she needed to survive, he says. That visceral pain has pushed many in Canada to donate. For Thierry Nawar, the scale of the crisis struck him when he reached out to his friend Govind in Delhi.
Well, the conditions are very critical.
That's what pushed him to fundraise from Ottawa.
When he actually started giving me his own account of what was going on, this was no longer a news story. This was actually a real situation on the ground.
NGOs have sprung into action, highlighting the urgency.
There's a need for everything people are committing to at the moment, plus more. Equipment is just one side of the story.
It's what many of India's allies are sending, planes full of oxygen supplies and antiviral drugs. Canada has thousands of vials of remdesivir and 50 ventilators in the air right now. The other 300 it has pledged aren't yet ready to send. They might leave next week. Not soon enough for many.
What dent is it going to make? I think the quick answer is very little. Not because it's not a kind gesture, but because India is a massive country.
And the short-term need is just too great. The long-term solution, jabs in arms, too far off. The immediate concern is the struggle to coordinate and distribute all those supplies. It's proving difficult for an Indian government that swears it's streamlining and working 24/7. But on the front lines, complaints that the aid isn't being felt. And with the brutal second wave still raging, health experts warn a third wave in India is also inevitable. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
CBC News has learned that Justin Trudeau's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, will appear before a Parliamentary Defence Committee tomorrow afternoon. The opposition has called on the Prime Minister to fire Telford for failing to tell him about a sexual misconduct complaint in the military. That allegation was about the top commander, now retired General Jonathan Vance.
Well, the government is fulfilling an old Conservative promise to build a heavy icebreaker at a Vancouver shipyard. It will also build a second one in Quebec.
This new class of icebreakers will be unlike anything on our water today.
300 jobs are projected for each shipyard, plus many more along the supply chain. Minister said 2 icebreakers are needed to support remote communities and maintain a year-round Arctic presence. They dismissed the Bloc Québécois' contention that because no contracts have been signed, the announcement is purely political.
Newfoundland and Labrador must cut spending on health care by as much as 25%. That is just one recommendation delivered today in a report meant to guide the province away from chronic deficits. Mark Quinn has the details and the reaction.
Newfoundland and Labrador is facing a dire financial situation, says Moya Green, the chair of the Economic Recovery Team.
We are in a time of unprecedented financial challenge of our own making, and it will get worse.
Her team's report calls for deep cuts to health care and the public sector, increased taxes, and balanced budget legislation.
We have proposed a gradual but deliberate set of measures which, taken over 5 to 6 years, will get us back on a stable footing. We can right the ship.
The report says the key is to attract green investments and increase revenues through assets like hydro dams on the Churchill River and offshore oil. Green says provincial enterprises like the Liquor Corporation and the province's energy company, Nalcor, can be privatized. This business leader wants the cuts to come first, ahead of any tax increases.
Before government starts taking more money out of out of the wallets of hardworking Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, they need to demonstrate clearly that they are serious about and take action to deal with the spending problem.
But this labor leader disagrees.
It's like austerity measures from many, many years ago. It's like Maggie Thatcher and Ronald Reagan all together again, when nobody else is saying that right now.
Premier Andrew Furey says his government isn't ready to forge ahead with the proposed changes yet.
It's not government policy. It's a series of recommendations. So we will consult on this and do what's needed in order to save the province from ultimate financial doom.
Successive premiers have promised bold action for years and not delivered. Today, Moya Green was clear the province is drowning in debt and doing nothing is not an option. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
The NHL has fined the New York Rangers $250,000 US for publicly expressing anger at how the league handled an on-ice incident.
This is ridiculous. Panarin, what is Wilson doing?
The Rangers were frustrated that the league opted to fine but not suspend Capitals player Tom Wilson for his actions during a game on Monday, in particular his throwing a player to the ice. Ballots are being counted in the UK tonight, where restrictions are easing and a COVID recovery is the burning election issue.
People want a plan for the future.
Next, the race to get London back to business and why Scotland's independence could be back in the cards.
At issue tonight, two premiers battling COVID crises and the politics involved.
And later, a little boy with a big passion for the bagpipes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
A moment with Frankie and his hero, Frank. We're back in 2. Prince Harry and Meghan's son Archie turned 2 today. To mark the date, the couple posted this photo on their website. The Queen also wished happy birthday to her great-grandson on Twitter, as did Prince Charles. Harry and Meghan are expecting their second child, a girl, this summer. The UK is also marking a kind of Super Thursday, with millions marking ballots. Parliamentary elections in Wales and Scotland, council elections in 143 English communities, and in London, the vote for mayor. Renee Filipponi takes a look at that race for us.
I'm the Liberal Democrat candidate for Mayor of London.
It's one door at a time for this mayoral candidate at a housing complex in South London.
Hey, you're going to be voting for us in the elections next week.
Louisa Porritt says there is a sense of hope.
Our vaccinations programme is going well here in the UK, thankfully, so we're looking to unlock further. And so people want a plan for the future.
And she has a pitch to take advantage of the pandemic, and reports working from home may become permanent for many.
Got a once-in-a-generational opportunity to finally fix our housing crisis by, for example, converting some of the empty office space coming onto the market into quality, affordable housing.
London may be getting back to business, but the pandemic still looms large. Its economy was hit harder than anywhere else in the UK.
2 weeks today.
During the campaign, COVID recovery has been top of mind.
I've got a plan that's focused on jobs.
Incumbent Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan is far ahead in the polls. He is promising voters he will get people back to work and bring life back to the city. It's a similar post-COVID platform to his Conservative competitor, Sean Bailey. But there are an unprecedented 20 options for voters, including candidates promising no lockdowns ever again. And that's what pub manager Gary Murphy wants to hear.
I've yet to decide who I'm going to vote for, but it certainly will be for a smaller, more independent party that is committed to getting us back to normal.
He says this pub, built in the 1600s, has survived the plague, cholera, and the Spanish flu. But COVID nearly took it under, and he blames politicians.
It doesn't matter if they promise to pretty up the high street. If we're still restricted or under the threat of closure, we're never going to recover.
But Murphy and the rest of London will need to wait until the weekend for results, with current COVID restrictions slowing down the count. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
Well, the Scottish vote could have far-reaching consequences for Britain and all of Europe. That's because the idea of independence is being pushed hard again. So what does that all mean? Margaret Evans explains.
If ever in doubt about the enduring power of the debate over Scottish independence, look no further. This plaque commemorates William Wallace, hero of the First Scottish War of Independence, and yes, that movie.
The rebellion has begun. Under who? William Wallace.
Eventually captured by the English, brought to London and put to death near here in 1305. Centuries later, the question of Scottish independence is still being fought over, albeit politically. Case in point, today's vote for the Scottish Parliament. Nicola Sturgeon, Scotland's current First Minister and leader of the pro-independence Scottish National Party, has put Westminster on notice. If her party, or a coalition with other pro-independence parties, wins a majority in the Scottish House, she'll see it as a mandate for another referendum.
I am asking you to vote SNP so that people in Scotland, when the crisis has passed, can have the right to decide Scotland's future and choose independence.
The last referendum was in 2014, and the Nationalists lost it. At the time, both sides seemed to agree that was it. Issue settled for at least a generation. But that was before Brexit reared its head in 2016, a narrow majority in the United Kingdom voting to leave the European Union, while 60% of Scots voted to stay.
I regard that as democratically unacceptable.
Still with me? Too many referendums? Well, that's what the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson thinks, and he's already said he won't allow another one.
All they want to do is break up Britain with another referendum, and I think that is the last thing this country needs at the moment.
Deeply unpopular in Scotland, Johnson's left much of the campaigning there to local Conservatives, but they're sticking to the same line. It's irresponsible for Sturgeon to be talking independence in a pandemic.
I love its wee body warmer.
But Sturgeon's perceived steady hand during the pandemic has also boosted her personal popularity, and it might just be enough to get her across the line for an outright majority. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
There were tensions today in the English Channel, a showdown over the fishery with British and French naval ships nearby. Ahead tonight, how a Brexit dispute escalated so quickly.
First, though, Rosie's here with At Issue.
Hey, Andrew, tonight we're going to talk about Jason Kenney's political challenges. What went wrong in Alberta? Is it going to go right now? Plus, why Doug Ford's changing his message with the federal government. Chantal, Andrew, and Althea will join all of us right after the break. calls for stricter restrictions and some Albertans not following the rules, Premier Jason Kenney was forced to put politics aside.
Governments must not impair people's rights or their livelihoods unless it is absolutely necessary to save lives and, in this case, to prevent disaster from unfolding in our hospitals. Unfortunately, that is the situation that we are facing today.
Sending a message to Albertans and those in his own party about a need for compliance.
We will not tolerate people counseling fellow Albertans to violate the law.
This as the province continues to report the most COVID cases per capita, prompting an emergency debate in the House of Commons and an offer of federal assistance. So what does this mean for the state of Jason Kenney's leadership? It's Thursday. I'm here with That Issue. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Good to see all of you. I'll start with you, Chantal. Jason Kenney talked a lot about the need for compliance, but how much blame does he actually hold for the lack of compliance in the situation that Alberta finds itself in right now?
I mean, it's hard to apportion blame to any premier, but in this case, it is clear that Albertans expected more and have been expecting more from the government and more leadership on this for a long time. There is a reason why Jason Kenney went from one of the most popular premiers when the pandemic started to back last fall, probably the premier whose province was the least satisfied with his efforts. So he has been tone deaf to the sense of his medical establishment, health authorities, but also voters, that they wanted more restrictions more quickly. The problem now is that a year in, it's harder to get people to comply than it would have been way back in November or this time last year.
Well, and is it harder to get people to comply, Andrew, because of his messaging, but also from the members of his own caucus?
Yes, I mean, first of all, Alberta generally was in a pretty nasty mood going into the pandemic because of all they've gone through in their economy, and also because of a feeling that they were under siege in terms of their major export, et cetera. Add to that a long-standing kind of libertarian tradition in that province that has been increasingly fed in recent years by a kind of a Trumpian populist anti-expert type of sentiment. And that, yes, that's pretty well represented within his caucus in particular. Remember, this is a caucus that was the unification of the old PC party and the Wild Rose party. So he's been kind of caught between, as Chantal says, the many Albertans who would like to have seen tighter restrictions and a significant section, particularly within his party, that think he's done too much. Indeed, he had something of a mini caucus revolt on his hands from people who thought he'd done too much. And in navigating between those two shores, I think he sort of managed to wind up infuriating both sides, and that would account for part of why he's at now in the polls.
I mean, it's interesting, Althea, that he, said to his caucus members, "I'm okay if you want to have this debate, but I'm not okay if you encourage Albertans to not follow the rules." Even that itself, I think, is problematic for people, and then asking them to comply.
Well, I think the debate democracy angle was basically his response after he realized he can't really kick out a quarter of the members of his caucus. And many of those caucus members represent an even larger percentage of the people who form part of the United Conservatives base. So what impact did he have? Plus, I actually genuinely believe that Jason Kenney believes in strong independent MPs. He keeps talking about the UK example and how MPs there can speak their mind. He's been saying that even when he was in Ottawa as a cabinet minister. I think the problem for Mr. Kenney, as I think Andrew rightly points out, is that you can't have it both ways, and he's pleasing nobody at the moment. He downplayed the risk of COVID early on. Alberta was far more open. I mean, frankly, it's far more open still now than where I'm sitting in Ontario. And so to go back to people and say, actually, you need to believe me, now is the time where we really need to comply, is hard for people to switch gears. So the people who wanted more action, as Chantal talked about, are unhappy, will remain unhappy. The people who don't believe this is a threat, and Kenney talked about this. In fact, in his press conference, he mentioned how the party itself is polling and knows there are lots of Albertans who do not believe the COVID forms a risk.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I should say I agree with him in part that we should be able to debate what is the proper policy, whether we should have a tighter lockdown or a looser lockdown. I have my opinion, you have yours, but we should be able to debate those things. But you should not be able to countenance people to break the law, particularly if you're an elected politician, to countenance people to break the law and those or defy the law. And there should be some boundaries in terms of listening to the basic science on this and not pretending that this is all just a hoax or something like that. But we've got to be careful that we don't just completely rule out any constructive debate. Remember, early on in this debate, informed people were saying you shouldn't wear masks or we don't need to close down the borders. So we need to make some room for differences of opinion on this.
I wonder, though, how constructive the debate is, though, I guess would be my pushback to Andrew's point. Chantal, go ahead.
I think at this point we're way past this. And the pandemic is not the usual political debate story where you have your views, somebody else has a view, and at the end of the day, it makes everything better because the clash of ideas, and I do believe that, improves policy. But in this case, one of the most precious things that all political leaders in this country, and that includes Justin Trudeau, need to preserve is moral authority. And when the polls start telling you back in the fall that you are losing 2/3 of your voters, and you wake up at the end of April, beginning of May, saying, gee, you guys need to do this, and you're left with 75% who no longer believe in you, that is really difficult.
I agree with that, but I think the problem is that Kenney himself has been inconsistent in his own messaging. It's not because backbench MPs haul off and say what they think. I don't think leadership requires shutting down every MLA. I think it requires the leader to show leadership himself.
Okay, good point, Althea, on that.
I will end on a more positive note. I think it's actually what we saw this week is the Premier taking action, imposing rules that I think are necessary, or at least the experts suggest are necessary. But what I thought was really useful is, in going to the people themselves, he took questions from people for an hour and 20 minutes. And then the next day he took questions from reporters for an hour and 20 minutes and explaining how he got there. And, it may not make a lot of sense to us in terms of, him saying, well, the reason we didn't enact rules earlier, tougher rules, was because we didn't think people were going to follow them. And you can't enact rules if you don't think people are going to follow them. Well, I think that's kind of partly your fault. But the fact that he's willing to put himself out there and to respond to constituents who are angry, I think is commendable. And I think we should note that.
I got to leave it there for this round if we can, but we have another round tonight. And when we come back, we're going to look at another province's political strategy during the third wave.
Our government has written a series of letters to the federal government asking for stricter measures at both land and air borders.
Why Ontario is targeting the federal government in its latest messaging. That's next. welcome back. The Ontario government's been calling for tighter restrictions at the border, criticizing Ottawa's handling of the issue. It even purchased ads on Facebook to get its message out. Here's a little bit of one of those released today.
The more countries that have outbreaks, the less relevant borders become.
Trudeau didn't close the borders when the pandemic started. He didn't close the borders when it got worse. Nobody wants a fourth wave. It's time to act. A message from the Ontario PC Party.
So I'd point out a key point there, that's from the Conservative Party and not the government. But is this the right strategy for the Premier for Ontario? Chantal, Andrew, and Althea all back for another round of At Issue. Okay, what is this actually about here? Because apparently when they had their call last week, the Prime Minister said, great, who do you want us to shut out of the country? And Doug Ford didn't really have a response. So what is this actually about here, Chantal?
It is slightly tone deaf. It doesn't answer the question of the only people coming in to the borders at this point, except for essential services, deliveries, etc., are Canadian citizens or Canadian residents. So what is the proposal here? To tell them what, to stay where? Question mark. It also is passing strange in the sense that the governments that are the most inclined to finger point at this point are those who are the most in trouble with their own public opinion as to how they have handled the pandemic. You're not hearing these commercials in French in Quebec. No one is there. You're not hearing them in BC. And frankly, I think it has more to do with the fact that a year from now, to this week, today, we will be in the Ontario re-election campaign.
Mm-hmm. If we're not already. You're also not hearing those kinds of ads in Manitoba. Like there's other places where there are Conservative premiers where that is not the position that they've taken. Andrew, what do you make of the sorry, Chantal, you want to make a point?
But they are not in trouble.
Yes, indeed.
Or not in increasing trouble from their own voters.
Sure. Andrew, what do you make of the strategy of trying to turn things back onto Ottawa?
Well, there's no doubt it's a desperation move. The Premier is in a lot of trouble politically, and to some extent deservedly so. It has some validity and truth in it, however. I mean, both levels of government in various ways have screwed up their respective responsibilities for this file. And it is true that the federal government was late to start to get control of the borders, and to this day has very uncertain and inadequate controls over it. People are coming in and are not being monitored in terms of whether they're observing the quarantine, for example, and that's a legitimate issue to raise. The way that they're raising it and the timing and the severity and the sort of amped up, dangerous sounding music, et cetera, is clearly designed to shift blame from the province. So even though both sides share some of the blame, I saw the point made today that, the Atlantic provinces are under the same federal government. So to the extent that the federal government has made things worse, it's made things worse for them as well. And yet they're performing so much better than Ontario. So to the extent that Ontario is doing worse, the province has to own its share of the blame for that.
Yeah, I would also assume that if you think that something more should be done at the borders, that you would then propose what that should be. And I'm not sure we've heard that clearly from the Premier. Althea.
Well, Ottawa says that what Doug Ford wanted in that call last week was to, when the option was given to him, was to, stop international students from coming in. But they seem to have backed away from that suggestion. There are things that they could do at the border. I take all of Andrew's points in terms of border control and quarantine and people taking fines rather than spending time in the hotels and perhaps not isolating as they say they are when they're home. So, there are still loopholes, if you want to call them that are happening. But none of that takes away from the fact that it is a transparent attempt to deflect. We saw Corey tonight has now been hired as a full-time campaign manager for the Ontario PCs. And I would say that they must be happy that actually the provincial parties can't count towards third-party advertising when it comes to federal elections, because if we had a federal election campaign very quickly, this possibly could be a third-party election ad, because it also helps, I think, Aaron O'Toole kind of chip away at the Prime Minister's credibility here on that file.
Andrew, then quickly Chantal. Andrew, then quickly Chantal.
Just note that the Liberals are fundraising now off
Yes,
of
they are.
the Tory campaign. So everyone's exploiting everybody.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Chantal, last point to you.
And I'll just note that a lot of airplanes land in Montreal too. And at this point, Quebec is doing better than almost every province except for PEI, Newfoundland, and New Brunswick.
Okay, on that note,
Go
we'll leave it
figure.
there. Go figure, indeed. Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it. I'll see you back here next week.
Okay, Rosie, and tell us a little bit about what you've got for this Sunday's Rosemary Barton Live.
Well, we're going to talk about Alberta, Andrew. Obviously, that still continues to be the hotspot in this country. But we're going to talk to not only a doctor in Alberta, but also one of the people who's still questioning whether all these restrictions are needed. And we're also going to talk to the Premier of Nova Scotia. As you know, they're going through a bit of an outbreak there as well. And they're doing an awful lot of testing to try and contain it. So maybe some lessons for the rest of us on that front going forward.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Rosie.
Thanks.
There's a tense situation in the waters off a small island in the English Channel. Next, why warships were called in and how a post-Brexit trade dispute is spilling out onto the open water.
I'm Anthony Restant, in for Jamie Poisson. Tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast, Front Burner, the government is promising certification to get Canadians traveling again, and we look at the massive practical and ethical implications of vaccine passports. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. The latest changes prompted by Brexit are making waves in the English Channel. The British island of Jersey's new fishing regulations have French fishermen really upset. Tessa Arcilla lays out the dispute and shows us what happened.
Dark skies hung over troubled waters as around 60 French fishing vessels charged towards the main port of Jersey Island. Armed with flares and a steely determination to express their outrage over their fishing rights in UK waters in this post-Brexit world. If things don't go back to normal, he says, we won't be able to survive.
I think this is an absolutely typical French way of making a protest. You say fierce things, you make big gestures, but in the end, it's a cry for attention.
Attention they did get. The British government sent 2 Royal Navy warships, keeping their distance, but there to reassure Jersey. The French responded in kind, sending 2 Navy ships of their own. This tit-for-tat goes all the way back to that hard-fought post-Brexit trade deal. A new fishing licensing scheme kicked in last week, and French fishers say Jersey-issued licenses have now come with restrictive new conditions they were never told about, which they say could kill up to 80% of their fleet. Jersey officials maintain they're complying with the deal.
They cannot live without France. What do they want? They want to sell their fish in France, but they don't want us to continue to catch or fish in their waters.
If today's events are anything to go by, it could be a bumpy post-Brexit ride for some time to come. There were signs that the spat could escalate. After France's maritime minister threatened to cut off the island's electricity, more than 90% of which comes from France.
We have leant over backwards to accommodate the concerns of the French, and at some stage we have to hold our ground.
Talks have started, and vessels on both sides have retreated, but an undercurrent remains. Tessa Arcilla, CBC News, London.
Okay, next on The National, an unlikely bagpiper steals the show.
Next thing we knew, little Frankie arrived dressed in all his gear, and he's been a regular ever since.
I love little Frankie. How 4-year-old Frankie found his passion right after the break. this is 4-year-old Frankie, who loves the bagpipes. And when the slightly older North Vancouver bagpiper Frank Wimberly started playing every Friday night earlier in the pandemic to honor healthcare workers, little Frankie found himself a new hero. For months, Frankie has been out every week to join Frank in his bagpiping, even though the 4-year-old hasn't yet learned how to play. But Frankie's bagpiping obsession is our moment.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The Pink Piper walks down Lonsdale every Friday around 5 o'clock. Every Friday he's there, let's go, Frankie, let's go. Frank's coming down, and he just got really involved and loved it.
And I like the music.
Frankie's a funny one. He gets into things, and when he gets in, he goes 100%.
When Friday happens, Frank comes play tunes, and I just really want to play with him, so that's why I act up like him.
Somebody was saying, "Oh, Frankie, you should get some lessons," and Frankie said, "Lessons? Why? I'm great."
I'm really impressed that he's taken it on and he's loving it.
We are impressed too.
That's
so this all started in September when wise Frankie, heard this and went out with his hockey stick to sort of tap to the rhythm. And then, of course, came Christmas and the whole outfit.
And let me just say for the record, I have not heard a better bagpiper than little Frankie.
I gotcha. You're right.
That being said, he is taking lessons. His parents have him enrolled. They're starting with the recorder first, just so he can get the basics of the fingering. And
he's nailed it already.
Yeah, that's the National for this May 6th. Go, little Frankie, go. Good night.
Good night.